Welcome back to our Mountaineer Game Day studios for a new episode of our Mountaineer Game Day Extra program. West Virginia coming off its first loss of the season, 38-7 on the road at Missouri. Up next for the Mountaineers, the undefeated Wolfpack of NC State. And of course, that brings a familiar face to town as well. Before we get into West Virginia's next matchup, unfortunately, we're going to go back and talk about that game up against the Tigers, where really, Nick, if you look at it, not much went right for this WVU team. At the end of the game, Coach Brown said he was disappointed but not discouraged in where this team can potentially make it. But another poor performance in West Virginia's run game, a game where Austin Kendall had 3 interceptions, Jack Allison had a pick 6. And like I said, just offensively, West Virginia could not get anything going, and defensively, 22 missed tackles. So just all around, a lot of stuff that needs to be improved, and it needs to be improved now before the Wolfpack gets to town.
Yeah, after the James Madison game, it was pretty clear that West Virginia had its issues, right? Mainly running the football was the big problem for West Virginia against JMU. Then they go on the road to Missouri, and it just seems like there's a whole lot more than just that. And even those problems with running the football, it's more than just the offensive line, right? You look at West Virginia on the national scene right now, 129th out of 130 FBS teams. The only team that's worse at running the football right now is the team that's head coached by Jake Spavital, which is Texas State. But WVU, Coach Brown said it this week, there's a whole lot more than just the offensive line that's going into the problems with the running game. Not enough physicality from the wide receivers out wide, not enough physicality from the running backs who are moving the football. And then you couple in the fact that West Virginia's passing game just hasn't really been as crisp as it needs to be, particularly early in that Missouri game, right? Kendall throws for 2 interceptions in the first quarter. Missouri all of a sudden goes from being up 3-zip in West Virginia's offense, kind of moving the football, to West Virginia being behind 17-0 early in that game and never really being in it. WVU, maybe the bright spot for West Virginia is the fact that the defense didn't give up any points in the second half. Mizzou's only points came on that pick 6 thrown by Jack Allison. But beyond that, you heard Vic Koenig was lamenting this week that WVU just had so many missed tackles. Yeah. 5 times they had Kelly Bryant. It seemed like should have been a sack, should have been a tackle for loss. Each of those times, Bryant gets loose, makes a play with his feet, makes a play with his arms, and it hurts WVU. You know, things aren't going to get any easier with NC State coming up here. You've got Matt McKay, who's very similar to Bryant, though maybe not as dynamic, still a dual-threat quarterback. The Wolfpack offense has racked up more than 500 yards per game in its first 2 contests. Things are not going to get any easier for WVU, but still got to hope that the Mountaineers can correct some of those mistakes that they made last week.
Yeah, like you were talking about, West Virginia's issues offensively is not just on one person. Of course, a lot of people want to come out and say it has to do with the offensive line. One of West Virginia's offensive linemen, he's played at center, played at right guard, that's Josh Sills. He said something on Tuesday during the press conference that he knows the offensive line is taking a lot of heat right now, and he said his solution until it gets better, you got to stay off Twitter, you got to stay off Facebook, because not everybody from the outside looking in, including us, knows what's really happening in here with the program. We don't get to see all of those moments in practice that has Coach Brown encouraged about the future of that team. Of course, we only get to see when they go out there on Saturday, which haven't been 2 good performances, but still a lot of inexperience. But at this point, you can't be using that as an excuse, for lack of a better term. These are guys who are going to need to step up, whether it's the guys on the offensive line. If you look at them, some of them redshirt juniors, some redshirt seniors, but really haven't had a lot of playing time. And Coach Brown had said in the first game is when he expected, the lights to come on, you don't perform as well. But to have a worse performance in game 2, just all across the board offensively, there's got to be something going on here. There's got to be changes that need to be made. The coaching staff is aware of that. They said on Tuesday there will be some shuffling happening all around the roster. That includes at running back, of course, on the offensive line. The one person that they are really satisfied with is Colton McKivitz. Other than that, Coach Brown said he was not happy with the way any of the other linemen performed. And then Alex Sinkfield, he said they're going to get him some more time in there. At running back, he thought that he performed the best at Missouri. And then at receiver, we're going to see Ollie Jennings and Winston Wright maybe go in there. 2 guys who have yet to see the field. But if that's what it's going to take, these younger guys coming in, stepping up, showing some of these starters that you got to get with the program and you got to make something happen, or else you're going to be replaced on this WVU offense. I mean, what more can you do than try to make some necessary changes? Because certainly what West Virginia had going against Missouri is just not going to work at any point this season.
Well, I think that there's one thing that you need to commend head coach Neil Brown and his staff for is the fact that they've been honest with the media, with fans, and with the guys within the program about what is happening and what needs to happen in the future. You know, Coach Brown has said a number of times during the offseason that this could be a year with a lot of growing pains for WVU, but also said he wasn't sure how bad things were going to be or how good things were going to be until West Virginia started to take on some opponents. Well, first Power 5 opponent in Mizzou, things didn't go very well. You said that Brown was not discouraged by the performance, but he did mention immediately after the game that he had never hid the fact that WVU is going to have some problems this year. So while being honest with the fans is one thing, being honest with the players is the only way to make sure that whatever the issues are for WVU get fixed in a timely manner, and that starts with the film. You know, Coach Brown and his players looked at the film Monday. They're going to continue practicing in the lead up to that game against NC State. We're going to get into that matchup in just a little bit, but Brown has said always, you know, the film doesn't lie. These players are seeing the mistakes that they're making in real time when they look back at the Missouri game, and Coach Brown and his staff are being honest with the players because that's the only way to correct these mistakes. So I think the thing to look forward to during the NC State game, right, who knows what the result is going to be. Of course, fans are going to hope for a victory. But to see progress, that's the most important thing, right? To see progress no matter who it is, whether it's guys who are backups, whether it's guys who have started in each of the first 2 weeks, whether it's somebody like Letty Brown who's coming back from an injury and missed the first 2 weeks of the season. Maybe he could hold some keys to a better run game for WVU. Whatever it is, as long as there's improvement, steady improvement from here on out, that's positive for West Virginia.
Yeah, talking to George Campbell, one of WVU's receivers, he had said, too, on Tuesday that he thought this offense was really just one explosive play away from getting that type of confidence that it needs to get things going, whether it be in the run game, whether it be in the pass game. So certainly looking forward to how the Mountaineers can now rise up and answer the call. I mean, 30 rushing yards, 2 players finished with negative rushing yards in that game up against Missouri. And you were talking about watching the film. We heard from all of the players. They know what's going on. They've seen it on film. Now they have to correct it. You would have liked to see those corrections being made between game 1 and game 2. Coach Brown set up against Missouri, really the first time that this team faced adversity. So hopefully they can see it on tape and they can make corrections, because West Virginia's offense is not going to have it easy this week, because West Virginia's former defensive coordinator, now defensive coordinator at NC State, Tony Gibson, is coming to town. We've known from his defenses in the past how tough these guys are. They have yet to allow a touchdown there at NC State this season, only allowed 6 points in their first matchup, and only allowed 49 rushing yards through those first 2 games. So this is going to be a very, very tough unit. And of course, looking forward to see how Gibson can do here in Morgantown, where he, spent so much time, and a native of the state as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a homecoming of sorts for Gibson. As you said, North Carolina State whooped East Carolina in its opener, then shut out Western Carolina last week. Wolfpack coming into this game excellent on both sides of the ball, but the big storyline is defense, and a lot of West Virginia's veterans were recruited by Gibson to WVU. Of course, now they're led by Neil Brown and defensive coordinator Vic Koenig, but many of those veterans say they're really looking forward to going up against their former DC.
I'm excited to go up against him. He's a nice guy. He's an awesome coach. But I'm excited to be against him and see what we can do against him. I like this, what we can do on defense here with Coach Vic and our new coaching staff. And I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see him on the opposite side, and it'll be cool to go up against him.
I love Gibby. I also love this staff. It just makes it more fun, just like playing like an old teammate from high school.
It's gonna be hard. I feel like we all love Gibby, Coach Gibson. It's gonna be. I feel like he's gonna get a warm welcoming back, and I'm excited to see him. Honestly, we all are.
So as we're talking about West Virginia's defense, Angelica, one thing that we should mention too. Taj Alston was injured in the game against Missouri. The bad news for West Virginia, which was expected, is that Alston is now out for the remainder of the season. He had surgery Tuesday morning and will miss now the rest of the year. So it's a tough blow for WVU. Alston had a sack in week 1 against JMU, but there's a lot of depth on the defensive line. In fact, it might be West Virginia's deepest position on defense. So hopefully for Neil Brown and the Mountaineers, players will just be able to cycle right in.
Yeah, you really hate to see that for Taj, a guy who started at East Carolina, didn't get to play in any games there because he suffered a knee injury, had to have surgery then. So, of course, he will be out the remainder of the season. We wish him a speedy recovery, a guy we were really looking forward to watching this season. We've got much more coming your way this weekend on West Virginia's matchup up against NC State. The Neil Brown Show returns on Friday night at 5 p.m. on AT&T Sportsnet, and then it will be back Saturday at 9 a.m. on your local Nexstar station. We'll have plenty more on this matchup, of course. All of the thoughts from the head coach himself coming your way as well. And now for a little more insight on the Wolfpack, another Gibson that we're going to be talking about on the program, except this one is on the media side, and he's covering the team.
Yeah, but as luck would have it, both guys go by Gibby. So this might get a little bit confusing as we bring in Todd Gibson from CBS 17 in Raleigh. He covers the Wolfpack and has some insight on NC State, West Virginia's next opponent. So, Todd, since Tony Gibson has come to NC State, what changes has he brought, and just how good is this NC State defense?
Well, I think with Tony Gibson, his thing is the 3-3-5, and I think with NC State, they've got some really good young linebackers that they want to get on the field, and they're pretty good up front too. They got some young defensemen they want to get rotating in as well, but they got some really good young linebackers that are trying to get playing time, and that defense kind of bodes well for those young guys to get them out there on the field. And they're very athletic. They run around, they hit people, and I think that's the kind of defense that Gibson's been known for through the years. So it's been fun watching that defense. And, right now, Nick, they haven't given up a touchdown yet on the season. 2 games, they have not given up 1 touchdown yet. Although in their first game against East Carolina, the Pirates took the opening kickoff, went right down the field, only to have the quarterback fumble at the 1-yard line. But after that, they have been lights out on defense. And I think, Gibson's getting a lot of kind of kudos for the defense that he's brought over. And I know that Coach Doran has mentioned it a couple of times that he's very happy with where the defense stands right now, even though, they have really not been tested so far this season.
So you mentioned no touchdowns for the Wolfpack, only 6 total points surrendered, but hasn't played a Power 5 team yet. West Virginia is going to be maybe its biggest test so far. What's the coaching staff think about the defense and the success it's had so far?
I think the sense with the coaching staff is that the defense is going to be fine. The defense will be very, very good this year. They've been known for their defensive linemen through the years, playing in the NFL. The Bradley Chubbs and the B.J. Hills and the Contavia Streets, they're playing in the NFL right now, have been, Doran disciples, the Doran recruits. And he's done a really good job with those kids and developing them. But I think with this year's team so far, the first 2 games, the 2 opponents weren't great, although East Carolina is going to be much improved this year. But they didn't show it the first game. But I think that they really like the defense. They feel good about what the defense is doing so far, and I think they're excited to see how they do this week in a hostile environment, because that'll be a good test for this group.
All right, chatting with Todd Gibson of CBS 17 in Raleigh about West Virginia's next opponent, NC State. Let's talk about the Wolfpack offense. Young quarterback in Matt McKay, but the Wolfpack has averaged more than 500 yards per game in its first 2 contests. So just how good are the Wolfpack on that side of the ball?
Running the football has been fantastic. Donovan Van Knight, a true freshman, has come in and has really performed well. And they got 3 other running backs that are really, really good. So their rushing attack has been outstanding so far this year. They got the running backs that can get, into the secondary and get down the field. And the offensive line so far has held up pretty good. They got a couple of young guys on the offensive line starting for the first time. But right now the offense is looking pretty good. But then again, Matt McKay has not had a game outside of the friendly confines of Carter Field Stadium. So and Morgantown, West Virginia is not the easiest place to get your first road trip. So we'll see how he does on Saturday against the Mountaineers.
All right, Gibby, thanks. He's Todd Gibson of CBS 17 in Raleigh, North Carolina. We'll bring you much more on this matchup. Get to know your opponent, bring you keys to a WVU victory, and much, much more on another live edition of Mountaineer Game Day. Our coverage from Milan Puskar Stadium starts Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You can watch the first hour on your local Nexstar station in West Virginia and catch hour 2 beginning at 11 on AT&T Sports Network. One other thing, Angelica, last week the big story was, of course, what we said our favorite tailgate foods were during the Ask MGD
right.
Extra segment. And we had a great response from.
We asked for food and we got it. I mean, what more can you want from that?
Exactly. Our new fan favorites at Varsity Club, taking care of us here on MGD Xtra. Catering services for MGD Xtra now provided by the Varsity Club Sports Tavern of Morgantown. Big thanks to the guys at Varsity Club. Huge thanks, keeping the crew happy here, including Sam the Man, who's back again with more questions.
We got food and we got questions. What more could you want?
Everybody loves questions. I don't know about food, but
food more than questions, man. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yes.
I'm with you there. So we're going to get right into it. Talking about football now. This one comes in from Kelly McCourt on Facebook, but this one honestly was all over Twitter. This question was all over the place. How much of Trey Lowe or Jarrett Dagey are we going to see this season?
So, Jarrett Dagey, probably a minimal amount. With the new redshirt rule, if Dagey is going to redshirt, which is the plan as of right now, he can play up to 4 games this season. I would imagine that if things continue down the path which they are currently heading for West Virginia, that we will see Dagey at least 4 times this season, but certainly not more than that unless WVU catches a really bad injury bug at some point this season. We already did see Trey Lowe, though, at the Mizzou game, just for a small sample size.
Right, and Coach Brown had said that there was a chance to see all of these quarterbacks here at some point in the season. Of course, like Nick said about Jarrett Dagey, I'm not entirely sure if we really will see him, like you said, unless it's a crucial situation. As for putting in any of the other quarterbacks, I mean, this is just my opinion, but really to me, when you have all of the issues that are going on right now, I don't think the solution is switching quarterbacks and seeing, can we get Jack Allison in there? We saw how that went a little bit there at Missouri. Trey Lowe got to go in there at the end of the game. To me, I don't think that the solution is taking out Austin Kendall and putting in other guys, because if you look at it, they all have the same amount of experience. It's been a while since Austin played. Trey really saw only a few snaps there in that bowl game. Same thing for Jack Allison. So I would be shocked if we see them for a substantial amount of time, and it's not due to somebody else being injured.
Yeah, when you get into switching the quarterbacks, it messes up the funk of the whole offense. So, this one comes in from Jim Dodrell, a good friend of ours, coming in on Twitter.
Good friend, right.
Angelica, we'll start with you on this one.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing about traveling with the Mountaineers?
Ooh, well, I'm going to say something to slight Nick a little bit here. Sorry. My favorite part is that I don't have to travel commercially, because I know how much of a pain that is, because I used to do that. So I get to travel there and back with the team, and let me tell you, they serve Haagen-Dazs on the team plane. I just want, there's ice cream bars there. So, good food. I mean, why is everything about me with food? I'm not entirely sure. But in terms of just traveling in general, I know Missouri wasn't a Big 12 school, but a lot of these Big 12 cities do have a lot to offer. We always go to somewhere to eat, and we always try to go somewhere new, not a chain restaurant, somewhere local. Back to food, here we go. But I think that that's just the best part. We're not really there for an extended period of time to really see a lot of stuff that normally comes with tournaments and everything like that. But I would say that that's just the nicest part, is getting to see some of these places that, is not a vacation destination, a place that you normally wouldn't be. And a lot of these stadiums are really neat to see.
Yeah, definitely.
To see as well.
Yeah, so I would say right along the lines of that, Angelica, that my favorite thing is just getting to experience new cities. I mean, there are a lot of cool destinations in the Big 12. Austin is one of them. Got to go to Austin last season during hoop season, and it's
Back
just a
in
cool
the Little
town.
Apple this year.
Manhattan is going to be. It'll be my first trip to Manhattan this year, because the football played Kansas State at home. Columbia was cool. It's not my favorite. It's certainly not
Nick
better
and I
than
have
some
our
of the-
reservations about Columbia.
Right, it's certainly not better than some of the Big 12 towns. I will say that the amount of times that we heard M-I-Z-Z-O-U at Memorial Stadium last week, that was not a lot of fun. But I mean, every school has its own cool traditions. Personally, man, you can't beat game day in Morgantown. I mean, that's just my opinion, right? We've been to a ton of different stadiums now, and you can't beat the pride of West Virginia. You can't beat 60,000 screaming fans at Milan Pushkar Stadium. But and then the food too. I mean, going to
we love food.
Right, going to Kansas City, some KC barbecue. There's some good places in Oklahoma City. I mean, Fuzzy's Tacos right next to the ballpark in Oklahoma City for baseball.
Tacos was close to us,
That's illegal.
we would be begging and pleading for Fuzzies to sponsor the show.
No.
Because I think the one time, where were we at? Where I think that we ate there like twice in one day for 2 days straight.
Yeah, definitely. During the
We
Big
love
12
it.
baseball tournament a year ago, we had lunch at
That
Fuzzies.
Fuzzies
and then
queso.
The queso. Yeah, it's good. But, I mean, still, again, home games for WVU football, it's just so much better because there's a lot less things that can go wrong,
Yeah,
whether
a
it's
lot less
travel
strenuous,
or just anything. So home games are where it's at, really.
All right, this is the last one. We're only doing 3 this week. We're going to keep it short and sweet. If you want to ask any questions next week, be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, send us in the comments section, in our Twitter replies, use the hashtag AskMGDXtra. We'll be sure to feature you on the show. This one comes in from me, actually.
All right.
I'm getting myself involved. I know. I'm sorry. Center the stage.
You gonna shamelessly plug your Twitter handle here too on the screen, right?
Yeah,
right
maybe.
about here?
They don't need it. They don't need it. They don't need it.
They already know.
They got it. They got it.
If you know, you know.
At Sam Caniglio.
See what I tell you.
Speaking of famous people, who's the most famous person you've ever interviewed?
Wow, wait, did you just
All right,
do
he
that?
said speaking of famous people after he was talking about himself. I love it.
I
Okay.
gotta plug myself.
Well, I guess I have. The most famous person probably would have been back in 2016 when Brad Paisley was here as part of his Country Nation tour. It was actually before West Virginia's, I believe they opened the season that year against Missouri, and Brad Paisley was in town the night before that game back in 2016. And then later on came to the stadium, sang Country Roads and everything like that. But I actually got to go on the tour bus and do an interview with him, and not about country music. We actually talked about football. West Virginia played Youngstown State the week before, because I remember him saying how good that they looked up against Youngstown State. So in terms of famous people, that was a really cool one, because I don't think, it's certainly not one I would have thought about this job. You know what I mean?
Right,
Brad Paisley, country music star there. So that one was really cool, but it wouldn't be an answer if I didn't give love to my guy, Fran Fraschilla.
Oh, wow.
Because anytime
It's a
Fran
real
is
love
in
story.
Morgantown, it is. Every time Fran is in Morgantown, of course, during basketball season, he's here on the Bob Huggins Show. Fran and I are pals, and
Big time. No, she's not joking
I'm not
at all.
joking.
They're big time pals. Yeah.
There are two people who, if I see them in any type of setting, will be like, "Hi, Angelica," and I don't know if this is just maybe they see me and remember. It's because they know they're going to get ready to interview me, but it still makes me feel special nonetheless. And that is Fran and Joel Klatt. So those are two guys that we really like to have on the program. But if we are going straight up famous people, I think I'm going to have to go with Brad Paisley.
Yeah, I don't think I can top that, but I can give a couple good examples here. So back before I came to West Virginia, which was in like 2015, I started working at WBOY in news. I worked at 93.7 The Fan, the sports radio station in Pittsburgh, and did an interview with Art Rooney too. So that's pretty cool. I've also, when I worked at The Fan, was on ESPN, like in a scrum interview with Emmanuel Sanders, the former Steelers wide receiver, and my face was, I was like standing behind him because there were a million media.
Didn't your mom take a picture?
Oh my gosh, I actually looked at the video the other day, right? Because sometimes it's like, well, I was on ESPN, people don't believe me, right? So I show them. Literally, SportsCenter that day, my mom watched it every single hour just to see that clip. And then eventually they cropped my face out because, what an idiot, that 19-year-old kid that's standing behind Emmanuel Sanders, some intern. I think I was an intern at the time, but that was pretty cool. But Dick Vitale is probably the best guy that I've ever interviewed, most famous guy, right? Either him or Art Rooney, depending on if you're a football or basketball fan. Got to interview Dickie V at the Jimmy V Classic last year at Madison Square Garden when WVU played to Florida. I really wanted him to say at the end of the interview, "He's a primetime player, baby!" But he didn't, so it's unfortunate, but that was still a really awesome
I'm very happy
experience.
that you got to do your impression.
Sensational, baby! All right, that's enough.
Okay.
Yeah, that is enough. And that's enough.
All right.
I'm all set.
See you, Sam.
Okay.
All good.
Like Sam said, don't forget to get your questions in, hashtag AskMGDXtra, or leave it in the comments as well. As you can see, we're having fun with things this week,
Yeah,
so
right.
we'd like you to get involved in the conversation as well. And maybe it's something that you want to know, you want to talk in the comments with other viewers, you guys want to have that conversation amongst each other. So feel free to do that as well. Really, we're just here to spark the conversation and have a little fun while we're doing it. So, Sam, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the questions. And as always, look forward to what the viewers come up with us next week.
I appreciate you guys having me, as always.
So speaking of somebody who likes to have fun, that's Dale Wolfley. The Wolfman's back on this week's episode of MGD Extra with his Howl of the Week. Wolfman?
Hey, this is your MGD Xtra and your Wolves. Oh, baby. Yeah. Hey, I want to show you something really cool this week, okay? We're going to look at James Madison film here and the Stills boys. Hey, Papa Stills was there in the stadium watching his boys play. You know that he had a 9-year career with the Kansas City Chiefs and how great he was as a Mountaineer. Well, how cool is that his two boys here in the first game of 2019 each came up with a sack and at critical times. Huge important. Hey, we got two Stills boys playing at the same time. How cool is that? All right, let's take a look here at my man Dante right here. He's the youngest brother. He's a true sophomore. Let's take a look at him right here. He's got to come off the ball. Okay, he's coming up. Oh, he just swims right on by the lineman. Right there, very good. And he comes in and he forces the sack. That's big, big, big. Look at this young man. You want some juice? You want some fire in here? Yeah, get excited, young man. There you go, baby. Very nice. Let's take a look at the end zone shot right here. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look. Coming up. There we go. We're going to see him right here coming off. Get the swim out there. That's a lot of pressure. Let's take a look here now at his brother, Darius. Okay, Darius is a junior. Okay, Darius actually played as a true freshman as well, just like Dante. A lot to be proud of. I'm going to tell you something. I had these guys sleep over at least one night, I can remember. And when they left, my refrigerator that was once full is now empty. Okay, these boys can eat. Hey, so can the Wolfley boys, so they assisted in that. But they don't have the Stills boys over unless you got a refrigerator that's full of food. Let's take a look at my man here. Okay, this is a big sack right here. Here we go. Roll it. Coming off. You see right there. Look at Darius coming off. Again, big sacks. We had 4 sacks on Saturday. 2 of them were by the Stills boys. That's just a beautiful, beautiful tandem. And that, my friends, is your Mountaineer Game Day Extra on the Wolves. Oh! Boom!
All right, Wolfman, thanks. That's about it for this week's episode of MGD Extra. But don't forget, there's so much more content that you'll find throughout the rest of this week leading up to kickoff. And you can find it all at WVIllustrated.com. And make sure you're following us on social media. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at WV Illustrated. We're also on Instagram. And there's the WV Illustrated app, which will bring you our daily WVI reports, which you can also see on your local Nexstar station in West Virginia, plus photo galleries, daily web stories, and so much more.
And also coming up this weekend on TV, of course, it's a brand new episode of The Neil Brown Show and Mountaineer Game Day. So The Neil Brown Show will first come your way on Friday at 5 p.m. on AT&T Sportsnet, and then Saturday at 9 a.m. on your local Nexstar station. And then comes Mountaineer Game Day live from Milan Pushkar Stadium. Scott and Amanda will be right here at the desk. Nick and I will be live from Mountaineer Field and bringing you coverage right up till kickoff as West Virginia prepares to welcome NC State. So that's going to do it for us right here on MGD Extra. We hope that you'll join us again right here, same time, same place next week.
Okay, ready to do
Oh,
this?
great. Paper airplane.
Paper airplane, that's going to take a while.